Are you finding yourself forgetting names more often than you used to? Walking into a room and completely losing track of why you went there in the first place? Maybe you're chalking it up to normal aging, but what if I told you there's a common fruit sitting in your kitchen right now that could be making your memory problems significantly worse and you don't even know it? This isn't about occasional forgetfulness anymore. This is about a hidden danger that's been overlooked for far too long, and it's affecting millions of seniors across America every single day without them having any idea what's really happening inside their brains. My name is Dr. Rebecca Parker. I've worked as a physician for over 20 years, and today I focus specifically on senior health. And I need to be completely honest with you about something that deeply concerns me as a doctor who sees patients struggling with memory issues on a daily basis. What I'm about to share with you goes against what most people believe about healthy eating, but the science behind this is absolutely clear, and ignoring it could mean the difference between maintaining your sharp mind and sliding into serious cognitive decline that affects your independence, your relationships, and your quality of life in ways you never imagined possible. You're not alone in this struggle. According to recent research, over 40% of Americans over 65 experience some form of memory impairment, and that number keeps climbing year after year. But here's what most doctors won't tell you because they simply don't know or haven't connected the dots yet. A significant portion of these memory problems aren't just about aging. They're about what you're eating every single day, thinking you're doing something good for your body, when in reality you're feeding your brain exactly what's causing it to deteriorate faster than it should. The fruit I'm talking about is one you've probably been told your whole life is healthy. It's cheap, it's available everywhere from Walmart to your local grocery store, and chances are you've eaten it within the last week without giving it a second thought. But what's happening inside your brain when you consume this fruit regularly is nothing short of alarming, and once you understand the mechanism behind it, you'll see why this could be one of the most important videos you watch this year for protecting your cognitive health. If this is already resonating with you, if you've been experiencing memory lapses that worry you, or if you know someone who has, hit that like button right now because this information needs to reach as many seniors as possible. Your engagement helps other people just like you find this critical health information that could literally save their mental clarity and independence. Let me explain what's really happening here. This fruit is loaded with something called fructose, which is a type of sugar that your body processes completely differently from other sugars. Now I know what you're thinking, but Dr. Parker, fruit is natural. It's supposed to be healthy. And yes, in moderation and in the right forms, fruit can be part of a healthy diet. But the problem is that this particular fruit has been cultivated over decades to be sweeter and sweeter, to the point where the fructose content is almost 3 times higher than it was 50 years ago. And your brain is paying the price for this agricultural manipulation that nobody warned you about. Here's the science in simple terms. When you eat high amounts of fructose, it travels to your liver where it gets converted into triglycerides, which are a type of fat. These triglycerides then flood into your bloodstream, and many of them make their way straight to your brain. Now your brain is an incredibly delicate organ that relies on clean, efficient blood flow to function properly. When these triglycerides accumulate in the tiny blood vessels in your brain, they create what doctors call oxidative stress and inflammation. Think of it like rust forming on the delicate wiring of a complex machine. Over time, this inflammation damages the neurons responsible for forming and retrieving memories, and it interferes with the communication between different parts of your brain that need to work together for you to think clearly and remember important information. But that's not even the worst part. Recent studies from major American universities have shown that high fructose consumption also disrupts something called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Now you don't need to remember that complicated name, but you do need to understand what it does because this is crucial. BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps new neurons grow, it strengthens the connections between existing neurons, and it protects your brain cells from dying prematurely. When fructose suppresses BDNF production, your brain literally loses its ability to repair itself and maintain the neural networks that store your memories, your experiences, and everything that makes you who you are. The longer you continue eating this fruit regularly without knowing about this connection, the worse the damage becomes. We're talking about a progressive deterioration that starts with small things like forgetting where you put your keys or blinking on someone's name at church. But it can progress to much more serious issues like getting confused about dates, struggling to follow conversations, or even forgetting important family events that used to mean everything to you. And here's the truly frightening part. This type of damage can accelerate other forms of cognitive decline, including dementia and Alzheimer's disease, because your brain is already in a weakened, inflamed state that makes it more vulnerable to these devastating conditions. So, what is this fruit? It's the banana. Yes, I know that sounds shocking because bananas have been promoted as a health food for generations. They're convenient, they're affordable, they're available year-round at every store across America, and they've been a staple in American households since most of us were children. But the modern banana is not the same fruit your grandparents ate. Through selective breeding to make them sweeter and more appealing to consumers, the sugar content has skyrocketed while the beneficial nutrients have stayed relatively the same, creating an imbalanced food that your brain simply wasn't designed to handle in the quantities most people consume them. Now, before you panic, I want to be very clear. This doesn't mean you can never eat a banana again. What it means is that you need to be strategic about how often you eat them, how you eat them, and what you eat them with to minimize the damage to your brain. And more importantly, there are 3 powerful solutions I'm going to share with you today that can not only protect your brain from this fructose damage, but actually reverse some of the cognitive decline you may already be experiencing. The first solution is something incredibly simple that you can start doing today, and it doesn't require you to give up fruit entirely or make dramatic changes to your diet. It's all about timing and combination. If you're going to eat a banana or any high fructose fruit, never eat it alone on an empty stomach. Always pair it with a source of healthy fat and protein. This could be a handful of almonds or walnuts, a spoonful of natural peanut butter without added sugar, or even a slice of cheese. What this does is slow down the absorption of fructose into your bloodstream, which prevents that dangerous spike that leads to triglyceride formation and brain inflammation. The science behind this is elegant and powerful. When you combine fructose with fat and protein, your digestive system has to work harder to break down the food, which means the sugar enters your bloodstream gradually instead of all at once. Think of it like the difference between dumping a bucket of water on a plant versus using a slow drip irrigation system. The plant can actually use the water when it comes slowly, but when it all comes at once, most of it just runs off and causes damage. Your body works the same way with sugar. When fructose enters slowly, your liver can process it efficiently without creating excessive triglycerides, and your brain stays protected from that inflammatory cascade I described earlier. But there's an even more powerful strategy you can implement, and this is something I recommend to all my patients who are concerned about cognitive health. Replace high fructose fruits with low fructose alternatives that still give you the nutrients and natural sweetness you enjoy, but without the brain-damaging effects. The best options available at any American grocery store are berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries. These fruits are absolute powerhouses for brain health because they're low in fructose, but incredibly high in compounds called anthocyanins and flavonoids that actually protect your brain cells from damage and improve memory function. Let me give you a simple protocol you can start using immediately. I call this the Brain Protective Berry Protocol, and hundreds of my patients have used this with remarkable results not just for memory, but for overall mental clarity and even mood improvement. Ingredients: 1 cup of mixed berries, fresh or frozen. If you're using frozen, which are just as nutritious and often more affordable, just let them thaw for about 10 minutes. 2 tablespoons of full-fat Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. 1 tablespoon of chopped walnuts or almonds. Optional, a tiny drizzle of raw honey, no more than half a teaspoon. Preparation: simply combine the berries with the yogurt or cottage cheese in a bowl. Sprinkle the nuts on top. If you want a touch more sweetness, add that tiny amount of honey, but remember, we're trying to reduce overall sugar intake, not increase it. How to use: eat this as your breakfast or as an afternoon snack, particularly on days when you know you'll need to be mentally sharp. The combination of antioxidants from the berries, protein from the dairy, and healthy omega 3 fats from the nuts creates the perfect environment for optimal brain function. You'll notice within just a few days that your thinking feels clearer, your recall is faster, and that frustrating brain fog that so many seniors experience starts to lift. This protocol works because you're giving your brain exactly what it needs while avoiding what harms it. The berries provide protective compounds that actually cross the blood-brain barrier and reduce inflammation directly in the brain tissue. The protein stabilizes your blood sugar, so you don't get those energy crashes that make it hard to concentrate. And the healthy fats from the nuts provide the building blocks your brain needs to repair damaged cell membranes and maintain efficient communication between neurons. Write in the comments, have you been eating bananas regularly thinking they were good for you? Have you noticed any changes in your memory over the past few years? Share your experience because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their brain health seriously. Now, let's go deeper into this because understanding the full picture will empower you to make better decisions not just about bananas, but about your overall approach to protecting your cognitive function. The damage from high fructose consumption doesn't happen overnight. It's cumulative, which means every high fructose meal adds to the total burden on your brain. During those long winter months when fresh options feel limited and you're reaching for convenient fruits like bananas more often, you could be unknowingly accelerating cognitive decline at exactly the time of year when seasonal depression and reduced sunlight are already affecting your brain health. American winters can be harsh, especially in the Midwest and Northeast, and I see this pattern repeatedly in my practice. Seniors tell me they feel more forgetful during winter, more mentally sluggish, and they assume it's just the weather or lack of sunlight. But when we dig into their diet, we often find they've increased their consumption of convenient high-sugar fruits because fresh vegetables are more expensive and they're trying to get vitamins somehow. The problem is they're getting those vitamins at the cost of their memory and mental clarity. The second solution I want to share with you is even more powerful because it doesn't just prevent damage, it actively repairs your brain and can reverse some of the cognitive decline you've already experienced. This solution is omega, 3 fatty acids from fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Now I know some of you might be thinking, Dr. Parker, I don't like fish or fish is expensive, but stay with me because I'm going to give you practical ways to incorporate this into your life that are affordable and actually taste good. Omega-3 fats, particularly DHA and EPA, which are the forms found in fish, are absolutely critical for brain health in ways that most people don't understand. Your brain is actually about 60% fat, and a huge portion of that is DHA. When you don't get enough omega-3s from your diet, your brain literally can't maintain its structure properly. The cell membranes become stiff and inflexible, communication between neurons slows down, and your ability to form new memories deteriorates. But when you consistently consume omega-3s, something remarkable happens. Your brain cells become more fluid and responsive, inflammation decreases dramatically, and new neural connections start forming even in seniors who haven't had adequate omega-3 intake for years. Research from American medical institutions has shown that seniors who consume fish rich in omega-3s at least twice a week have significantly lower rates of Alzheimer's disease and dementia compared to those who rarely eat fish. We're talking about a 60% reduction in risk in some studies, which is more effective than most medications on the market. And for those who already have mild cognitive impairment, increasing omega-3 intake has been shown to slow the progression and in some cases even improve memory test scores, which is absolutely remarkable considering we're told that brain decline is inevitable and irreversible. Here's a practical and affordable way to get these brain-saving omega-3s without breaking your budget. At stores like Walmart, Kroger, or any local grocery store, you can find canned wild-caught salmon or sardines for just a few dollars per can. I know sardines don't sound appealing to everyone, but hear me out. You can mash them up with a little bit of mustard, some chopped onion, and a squeeze of lemon juice, then spread that on whole grain crackers or whole wheat bread. It's delicious. It's packed with omega-3s, and one can give you more than a week's worth of the DHA your brain desperately needs. If you absolutely cannot tolerate fish, you can take a high-quality fish oil supplement. But make sure it's from a reputable brand that has been tested for purity because unfortunately the supplement industry isn't well regulated and some products contain more mercury than omega-3s. Look for brands that specifically say molecularly distilled and tested for heavy metals on the label. You can find these at CVS, Walgreens, or any pharmacy. The dose you're looking for is at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day, which usually means taking 2 capsules depending on the brand. But supplements are always second best compared to real food because fish also contains selenium, vitamin D, and B vitamins that work synergistically with the omega-3s to protect your brain. When you eat the whole food, you get this complete package of nutrients that your brain uses together to maintain optimal function, and that's something a pill can never fully replicate no matter how high quality it is. If you're finding this information valuable and eye-opening, go ahead and hit that like button again because we're about to get into the most powerful solution of all. And this is the one that ties everything together and can truly transform your cognitive health in ways you probably didn't think were possible at this stage of your life. The third and most comprehensive solution is what I call the Neuroprotective Lifestyle Protocol, and it combines diet, specific supplements, and daily habits that work together to create an environment in your brain where memory thrives instead of deteriorates. This is what I recommend to my patients who are serious about not just maintaining their current cognitive function, but actually improving it and protecting themselves against Alzheimer's and dementia as they age. First, let's talk about curcumin, which is the active compound in turmeric. This bright yellow spice that you might have seen in the spice aisle at your grocery store or used in curry dishes has been studied extensively for brain health, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. Curcumin crosses the blood-brain barrier and directly reduces the inflammation that destroys memory-forming neurons. It also helps clear out something called amyloid plaques, which are protein deposits that accumulate in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease and interfere with neural communication. Studies from UCLA and other major research institutions have shown that curcumin supplementation can improve memory test scores in seniors by up to 28% over an 18-month period. That's a massive improvement that can mean the difference between living independently and needing full-time care. The problem with turmeric from food is that curcumin isn't absorbed very well by itself. You need to take it with black pepper, which contains a compound called piperine that increases absorption by 2,000%. You also need to take it with fat because curcumin is fat-soluble. Here's how to use this effectively. You can find curcumin supplements at any pharmacy or health food store. Look for one that specifically says it includes black pepper extract or piperine and take it with a meal that contains some healthy fat. The typical dose that's been shown effective in studies is 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams of curcumin per day. Alternatively, if you prefer to use the actual spice, you can make what's called golden milk, which is a traditional drink that's become popular in America. Mix 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder with a cup of warm whole milk or full-fat coconut milk. Add a tiny pinch of black pepper and a touch of honey if you need sweetness. Drink this in the evening before bed and your brain will be bathed in anti-inflammatory compounds all night long while you sleep, which is when most brain repair and memory consolidation happens. The second part of this comprehensive protocol is leafy green vegetables, and I mean a lot of them. Spinach, kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, and even romaine lettuce are loaded with something called folate and vitamin K, which are absolutely essential for preventing brain shrinkage and maintaining the myelin sheaths that protect your nerve fibers. Research has shown that seniors who eat at least 1 serving of leafy greens per day have brains that function as if they were 11 years younger compared to those who rarely eat greens. Think about that. 11 years of cognitive youth just from eating more vegetables. During the fall season across America, when fresh greens are abundant at farmers markets and grocery stores, this is the perfect time to load up. You can sauté them with garlic and olive oil, add them to soups and stews, or make big salads with a variety of greens, nuts, and a simple olive oil and lemon dressing. The key is consistency. 1 big salad per week won't do it. You need greens almost every single day for your brain to reap the full benefits. The third component that makes this protocol so powerful is staying mentally active in specific ways that challenge your brain to form new neural connections. This isn't about doing crossword puzzles or Sudoku, although those can be enjoyable. I'm talking about learning something genuinely new that requires you to use multiple parts of your brain at once. This could be learning a musical instrument, taking up a new language, joining a community theater group, or even learning to use technology in ways you haven't before, like video calling with grandchildren or navigating social media to stay connected with old friends. American retirement communities and senior centers across the country offer classes specifically designed for older adults, and many of them are free or very low cost. The social aspect of these activities is just as important as the mental challenge because loneliness and isolation are independent risk factors for dementia. When you're learning something new with other people, you're not only building new neural pathways, but you're also creating social connections that protect your brain through emotional well-being and the cognitive stimulation that comes from conversation and shared experiences. If you want access to exclusive content with more detailed protocols, specific meal plans, and deeper advice on brain health tailored to your individual situation, consider becoming a channel member. In the membership area, I share advanced strategies and answer specific questions from members that I simply don't have time to cover in these general videos. Now let me bring this all together for you because I know I've given you a lot of information and you might be wondering where to start. Here's what I want you to do starting today. First, if you have bananas in your kitchen, don't throw them away, but do be more mindful about how and when you eat them. If you're going to have a banana, pair it with almond butter or walnuts. Better yet, start substituting berries for bananas whenever possible. Your brain will thank you within days. Second, commit to eating fish rich in omega-3s at least twice a week. If that's not possible, start a high-quality fish oil supplement today. This is non-negotiable if you're serious about protecting your memory because your brain is literally made from these fats and it can't maintain itself without them. Third, add curcumin to your daily routine either through supplements or through that golden milk drink I described. The anti-inflammatory effects on your brain are too powerful to ignore, and this is one of the safest, most well-researched natural compounds we have for preventing cognitive decline. Fourth, eat leafy greens every single day. Make it a habit like brushing your teeth. Your brain needs those nutrients to prevent the shrinkage and deterioration that so many seniors accept as normal aging when it's absolutely preventable with the right nutrition. And fifth, challenge your brain with genuine learning and social connection. Join something, learn something, connect with people. Your brain was designed to grow and adapt throughout your entire life, not to shut down and decay. But it needs the right stimulus and the right fuel to do that. I want to share something personal with you. I've seen what happens when seniors ignore these warning signs and continue eating the same way they always have without understanding how food affects their brain. I've had patients in their 70s who couldn't remember conversations we'd had just days before, who got lost driving to places they'd been going to for decades, who slowly lost the ability to manage their own finances and medications. And in almost every case, when we looked at their diet, it was loaded with high-sugar foods including excessive fruit consumption and completely lacking in omega-3s and the protective nutrients I've talked about today. But I've also seen the transformation that happens when people take this seriously and make these changes. I had a patient, Margaret, who was 72 years old when she came to see me terrified because she was forgetting things constantly and her daughter was starting to talk about whether she could still live alone safely. Margaret's diet consisted of cereal with banana for breakfast every morning, sandwiches for lunch, and simple dinners because she lived alone and didn't want to cook elaborate meals. She was barely eating any vegetables, no fish, and getting most of her calories from carbohydrates and sugar.